Hello, everyone. It's an honor to be here with you to have this shared experience. I applaud you all for the work you do, being there on the front line, bringing us news as it's happening, and helping us to make sense out of what's going on. It's hard when you know for people in your profession when there's a president in the White House who uh, is always bad mouthing the press, doesn't respect you, doesn't respect the work that you do. So again, thank you. Thank you for all you do. Today, I want to talk to you about duress. I want to share some tips for coping in times of duress. Okay, duress is different from stress. You know, um, the previous speakers, Dr. Vincent and Dr. Austin, talked about stress, but I want to talk about duress. Duress is defined as threats, violence, constraints, or other action brought to bear on someone to do something against their will or better judgment. Okay, so it's different than stress. It's different than that stress that we have on a daily basis that we're experiencing, having to sit in rush hour traffic, having to rush to get to an appointment, having to rush to make a flight, and those unexpected things that come up, like getting a flat tire as you're on your way to work. That's stress. But the rest is a little different. So I want to share these tips with you. How do you cope when things are really bad? How do you cope when they're really bad, and how do you manage your fight flight response? Okay. Oops. Okay, so here are the tips. Express your feelings, know your limits, talk to someone you feel comfortable sharing your feelings with, understand your role, understand your job, what you're there to do, and try to leave work at work. So to delve into these a little more, and my cursor is not moving. Okay, there we are. Okay, so the first tip I want to talk about more in depth is expressing your feelings. Knowing, being able to understand that your feelings are real and valid. And what I mean by that, you might have three individuals who have the same situation and respond and react differently. You take myself, a Black man, I'm pulled over by a police officer, and the thought that goes through my head is, am I going to make it out alive? Is there going to be violence involved? Whereas another individual of a different culture might be concerned about whether or not they're going to get a ticket and whether or not their insurance premium is going to increase. Okay, then take the third individual, an undocumented person driving and is pulled over, and their concern is whether or not they're going to be deported. Okay, so there are three different sets of feelings for the same type of situation. Everyone's feelings are real and everyone's feelings are valid. Okay. All right. Okay. Second, know your limits. Know when you need to tap out. Situations occur, they could become heated, they could become unsafe. You need to know when you can't take it anymore and you need to step out or step away. It's nothing wrong with, leaving for a bathroom break, leaving the situation altogether. Sometimes you might have to use those skills where you just have to dissociate or maybe daydream for a minute, but know that it's okay and know that in order to take care of yourself, sometimes you have to take a break and you need that time out. All right. Talking to someone is very important. And I think both of the doctors before me stressed this as well. Having someone that you feel comfortable sharing your feelings with. Family is great. Talking to your spouse, talking to your partner, talking to a friend, talking to mom, but sometimes you need to talk to someone who has a shared experience, someone who's in the same profession or field, someone who knows what it's like to do the work that you do. Find a buddy, find someone you can talk to and share. It could be that both of you are covering the same story or covering a similar story, and you take time after to debrief. Let's talk about what happened out there. Let's kind of process, let's try to process this together. And again, when you're looking for someone to talk to and someone to be supportive, don't go to that individual who wasn't supportive in the past, never has been supportive, that individual who's negative, right? You want to really find someone who is going to allow you to talk about what's going on, and also someone who's going to listen to what you have to say. All right. One second here. Okay, hold on one second. Okay. You want to understand your role in the situation. You have a job to do, you have to cover a story. You need to be there in the moment, doing what you were sent there to do, remembering what the goals were for you, being there to cover the story that you need to. I have a story that I want to share with you that I wish I could say was a funny story or a happy story, but it isn't. I used to do private practice in Baltimore, Maryland. I was working with a client who had experienced some anxiety. She was unable to drive because she was in a car accident, hit from behind, and wasn't able to drive anymore, wasn't able to get behind the wheel. And so I had to help her, deal with this anxiety because it was causing problems for the rest of her life. And she came into the session one day and she said, I can't talk about the anxiety stuff today. I need to talk to you about a pressing family matter, right? So I said, okay, have a seat, let's talk. What's going on? She said, my 17-year-old daughter is dating a Black guy, another student. He's an A student. He's student body president. He's a great kid. I said, okay, so what's the problem? She said, when my daughter went to have a conversation with my husband and I about this relationship, my husband immediately got up, went to the back door, opened the door, and vomited. Came back into the house and said to my daughter, I'm disgusted. Now I'm sitting across from this woman and I'm saying to myself, does she not know that I'm Black? Um, but in that moment, I had to pull myself together. And for the next 45 minutes, I had to be a therapist to this woman. I had to listen to what was going on in her family. I had to help her process the situation. But it was very hard. I don't think that she noticed that it affected me. Um, and actually, the week after, she ended up bringing her daughter into the session for a family meeting. But I was at a point of I was in disbelief. I initially thought that maybe this was a joke, but it wasn't. It was real. So again, in these situations, we it's important that you um, remember and remind yourself that you're there to do a job. I need to do this job. After the job is done, I can go and debrief with others. I can go and talk to someone else about what's going on. But for now, I need to do my job. Okay. Uh, and finally, I can't stress this enough. Try to leave work at work. I know some of you don't have 9 to 5 jobs where you clock in at 9, clock out at 5, but you need to find time for self-care to take care of yourself. If you have one of those schedules where you work off and on periodically during the day, please, please, please schedule time for self-care, schedule time to take care of yourself.